GT3 racing in the past few years has become the go-to for sim racers, and not just because of Assetto Corsa Competizione. GT3s are found in most modern day sim titles, which begs the question, which gives the best experience? In this video I'm going to try ACC, Assetto Corsa, Race Room, AMS2 and iRacing. Firstly, I needed to find a car and track combo that was available in all of them, and after some sifting through, I ended up with this. The Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo from 2020. And the track, Laguna Seca. Now, in terms of measuring which is best, being subjective is going to be the biggest challenge. We all have our likes and dislikes as sim racers, so the best approach was to create a standardised scoring system. Now, that's not necessarily going to make me 100% subjective, but at least it gives me some boundaries to work within. I'll give marks out of 10 for drivability of the car, so how it feels to drive, the graphics, so this will be a view on how the car and track combo looks overall, the sound, and this is a key part of realism and immersion, and another reason why I picked the Mercedes. I'll look at force feedback as well, and, sorry iRacing, I'm also going to do value for money. I needed further rules though to balance things as best as possible. Weather would always be early afternoon and clear. I would only ever use the default setup, and that's not even switching to Aggie default in ACC. I would use the same view, which is an issue for me because I'm a bonnet cam driver, sorry, but I'm going to have to use cockpit cam, thanks iRacing. And the final thing is I would only have 3 laps. So for each sim, you will see my best lap. But bear in mind, I'm not quick. I'm not an alien. I'm not even anywhere near that. I'm at best a mediocre community racer. And the other thing is I'm not actually going for fastest laps here. I'm just driving to be able to fill out the marks for the things that I've talked about earlier. Now, before we get stuck too far into the sims, let's take a look at what it looks and sounds like to drive one of these on board in real life. Okay, so let's talk iRacing, a sim that frankly I've always struggled with, but would like to improve at. The overall experience here was okay. Driving wise, I never felt particularly comfortable with the car. I sort of felt that it struggled to rotate through the corners, and I was kind of lacking a sense of speed, so I'll give drivability a 7. Graphically, I think we know that iRacing is a little dated in places. The external shots of the car, though, look great. Tracking environment does let it down, so a 6. Sound is good, but on board lacks some of the growl that you want from the V8, so a 7. Force feedback was a little hit and miss, and actually seemed to change as you went around the track, so the curbs were good in some places, missing in others. But I could feel what the tyres were doing in general, so another 7. Now, value for money. We all know the iRacing model, subscription plus content costs. That makes this drive fairly expensive. The car itself is $11.95, but the track is free base content, so that helps a little, but it's going to have to be a 5 on value. That makes a grand total of 32 out of a possible 50. Is that fair? Let us know in the comments. Let's move on. To race room then, and driving wise, in some ways I actually much preferred it. It was quite engaging feeling, but the slow speed understeer just didn't feel natural and was really frustrating, so it scrapes a 7 for me. That's at a push. Graphically, Race Room also suffers from being pretty old, but the recent lighting and sky changes have made a difference. The car looks great, especially in the 2024 DTM liveries, which are brand new, so that helps, so another 7. I promise I do give other scores. Sound, and here comes a different score because this is a solid 8. Race Room has always had exceptional sound, and that still rings true today. With the right headset, it's an absolute dream of immersion. Force feedback is a weaker point though, mainly on a lack of feeling through the tyres, making it more difficult to react to what the car's doing. So only a 5, I'm afraid. But what about value? Well, the game is free to play, always has been, and this car cost me just €2.99. But that was on a 50% off deal, so let's say it's just under €6 normally. The track is just under €5 at full price. Again, I got it on a 50% off deal, so car and track is actually less than just the car on iRacing, and with no subscription. So for me, Race Room always scores high on value, 8. That's 35, a new leader. What's next? AMS2 was actually really interesting. And driving wise, this video is pre-version 1.6, which does promise to deliver a very different feeling. But for now, the tyres still don't feel 100% connected to the track. Personally, I enjoy driving AMS2, but for realism, I have to mark it down to a 5. Graphically though, it is just about king as far as I'm concerned. Stunning looking, especially in the dark or the wet. In this situation, the sun is so realistic, I'm going for 8. In other conditions, it could easily be higher. The sound is a pretty similar level to iRacing, so let's match the 7 I gave there. And force feedback is pretty good in AMS2. The default plus setting is absolutely awesome, so it has to be an 8. Value wise, there's a more traditional model at play here. Buy game, buy DLC. The game is a very standard price, and the DLC is acceptable. The car is part of the Endurance Pack Part 1 at £8.99, and the track is part of the Racing USA Part 1 at £10.99. The fact that you have to buy packs does it make it more expensive though, so only a 6 here. That's 34 in total for AMS2. On to the big one, ACC. Now behind the wheel, this still remains the best feeling driving a GT3. It's tricky but in an engaging way. I know ACC has had plenty of critics of late, but it still holds the crown for most people. Brakes are a bit tricky to get used to, so let's go with an 8. Graphically, while it lacks some of the sparkle of AMS2, the detail levels make up for it. The tracks are beautiful and the cars equally so. For the quality of the overall package here, it has to be a 9. Sound is decent but not as visceral as some other examples, so let's go 7. Force feedback is a good balance in ACC and has great tyre feeling. I would prefer to feel a little bit more locking in the tyres when it happens, but overall an 8 again. Similar to AMS2, this is a buy game, buy DLC in packs model. The game varies in price but is pretty standard. The packs needed for this combo are the 2020 GT World Challenge at £7.99 and the Intercontinental GT pack at £12.49. So being fair to AMS2, it's a 6 here as well. That is a big 38, which puts it solidly in the lead. AC. As you may have guessed, I needed a car mod here, but that's okay. So I went for the RSS version. Driving wise, I felt so engaged, and frankly I just could have carried on driving and driving. What an experience. It just felt like I could lean on it and push, and I loved every second of it. It's a 9, but it's so close to a 10. Graphically, things like CSP and Soul bring this almost up to date, but it is still a very old platform, so we'll always be lacking a bit. It is a solid 7 though. The sound is great, but does miss some of the raw grit of Race Room, for example, so a solid 7 again here. My force feedback is pretty well dialed in on AC, so feels great to me. Again, some mods help to bring it up to date, but the overall package delivers an 8. Then let's talk value. A game that really only costs a few pounds these days, with a high quality mod that was less than £3 to download. Chuck in some free mods to bring the title up to date and you have an easy 9 for value. AC, I love you. So here's the thing. That's 40. 40 points. That makes this the winner. Am I mad? You tell us in the comments. And please like and subscribe while you're here. Thanks for watching.